from Imperfect Life. Assuming you guys know who I am since you're here and you probably follow me on Facebook or my blog or, you know, some sort of social media. Tonight I'm going to go through my meal prep, the foods that I prepare at the beginning of the week in order to set myself up for success throughout the rest of the week. Typically what I do is I prepare a few different types of meats, I prepare a few different types of vegetables, and I guess that's really it. And then I combine them in all different ways to create colorful, flavorful, nutritious meals. So I'm going to start by turning on my oven. So I'm just going to put it at, 400 degrees, and I don't know how long that'll take, but we'll have enough time. So what I'm going to do is start with cutting up all of my veggies. They're going to be roasted. Should have taken them out of the package so it wouldn't be so loud. Sorry about that. I didn't want to talk and crumple packaging around. So I've got peppers, squash, and zucchini. I like to cut my peppers first and then rinse them because then it gets rid of most of the seeds. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with my peppers. So this is how I cut peppers. My mom taught me this. It's kind of a cool trick. If you start at the top and then go down towards the bottom, so you're basically cutting around the little stemmy piece there, right? And then all you have is the meat, and you can just pull out the white stuff like that, and so you're not wasting a lot of pepper. So just cut that, and then all I have left that I'm not using is the stuff that you would need anyway. So we'll do that with these other two peppers real quick. Looks like I've got a bruise on this one. Just cut that off. And I think we're good. And then I put these in a colander, again, just to rinse them off, and then so the seeds fall off and I don't have to worry about having little teeny tiny seeds everywhere. So put these in the colander. Oops, I got my bruised piece in there. And then give them a rinse, and I have a little bit of a chunky white part here, so I'm going to rinse that, or take that off. Rinse them off, got another little seedy part on this. Give them a little shake. And then I'm just going to cut these into just like a rough chop. So just like bite-sized pieces. Can you see that? I try to get them all about the same size because that's going to allow them to cook at the same rate. But they don't have to be perfect. And then, like I said, I'm going to roast these so they'll just go right in the oven with a little bit of olive oil. And I use kosher salt. If I want to get fancy, sometimes I'll add like some garlic powder, or if I'm doing like broccoli, I might add some rosemary just to spice them up a little bit. But I like to keep things really plain when I pre-prepare them so that they're more versatile. To me, like, rosemary is very Italian, and so if I were to, say, pre-prepare a bunch of peppers with something like rosemary or oregano, or something that is very herby, that kind of already lends itself to a specific flavor. So so then I feel like I would be limited in what I could use it in. Whereas if I just keep it plain, when I reheat them, then I can add additional flavors like garlic or rosemary or whatever else I wanted to add. So, start with these peppers. Now, I like to do my veggies at a really high temperature because there's a lot of moisture in vegetables, a lot of water. And essentially what we're doing is evaporating that water, right? So the higher the temperature, the faster they'll cook, and the less time you have to sort of fill the oven up with moisture, which prolongs the cooking, and then you end up with soggier vegetables. So I'm going to just set these aside here. Sometimes I do all of my vegetables together. Sometimes I do like peppers and onions in one pan, and then I'll do squash and zucchini in another pan. Sometimes I'll do squash and zucchini and onions together. It just depends on sort of how I'm feeling for the week, what my plan is. But again, keeping things as basic as possible is the general rule. So I'm just going to do 2 zucchini and 2 squash. I'm going to save this zucchini for what, zoodles? That's the zucchini noodles. So I'll save this for later in the week to make like a pasta dish without the pasta. So rinse these off real quick. Again, I'm going to cut these the same size, or roughly the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want your veggies to be about the same size so that they cook at the same rate. Does anybody have any questions yet? I'm going to assume that's a no. Okay, so I cut down the middle and then just, again, a rough chop. I'm not a chef. I have terrible knife skills. Hopefully you have better knife skills, or at least just really careful to not cut off your fingers. Down the middle. And this is really, really quick and simple. Like you can see, it's not, you know, food prep does not have to be long and tedious. You just, if you have the basics ready to go, then preparing meals throughout the week is much simpler and a lot faster. If you follow me and you see, especially right now, I'm posting a lot of pictures of the meals that I'm preparing as part of the Whole Foods Challenge. I feel like something's like pulling on my wrist. It's really weird. As part of the Whole Foods Challenge, I've been posting pictures of my meals throughout the day, and you can see that I eat a lot of different colors, and really, like, I mean, they don't necessarily look fancy, but they look like complete meals. But I'm literally spending less than 10 minutes preparing a dinner or a lunch that is full of beautiful whole foods. And that's because I do a lot of prep work ahead of time. And when I say a lot, I mean like what I'm doing now, which is minimal. I'm not preparing you know, entire meals at the beginning of the week, which works really well for some people. But it's not that I wouldn't take the time to do that. If I had to prepare all of my meals at one time at the beginning of the week, I probably wouldn't get much done. So I'm just going to throw all of these right here on the pan. And just as long as there's enough room for them to have some space to spread out, you don't want them all smushed up like this because, again, there's a lot of water in these vegetables, and if they're touching, the water's not going to evaporate. Okay, so you want to make sure they have enough room. If you don't have enough room on one, you can always transfer some to the other pan. I'm just going to do a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of kosher salt. So sometimes I get a little heavy-handed. I'm going to warn you right now. Don't get too much oil on your pan, otherwise you'll end up with soggy vegetables because it basically traps the moisture in the vegetables and then that moisture doesn't ever evaporate. I've done that a few too many times. So be very not liberal, whatever the opposite of liberal is. Conservative with my oil. And then just enough to like barely coat them. I could probably use just a little bit more on here. I'm going to do just a teeny tiny bit. There we go. Wipe off my hands. This is my great-grandma's towel. Isn't that cool? I have a whole bunch of her towels. This is one of the few that has survived in one piece all these years, but I love that towel. It makes me think of her. So kosher salt, I have like a pinch here. I don't really measure anything. Kosher salt's really neat. If you don't cook with it, I recommend trying. It's coarser than regular table salt, but it's finer than like your typical sea salt. And I like it because it's very tactile. So, like I said, I don't measure things, but I know what it feels like in my hand. Like I know how much I need for whatever it is that I'm cooking. So that's it. Like salt, olive oil. These are ready to go in the oven as soon as it's heated. So I'm just going to set them there. I'm going to do the same thing here with the zucchini and squash. So not too much oil. All right, we'll start there and see how it looks. Again, just enough to coat. You don't want it like swimming in oil. I've done that so many times and then I end up with soggy vegetables. Just enough to coat. Now these, both the peppers and the squash, I will use for breakfast. The peppers I like to make omelets in the morning because what takes the longest is cooking the vegetables that you're putting in your omelet, right? So if your vegetables are already cooked, oh look, I have the end of a squash here. We don't want that. If your vegetables are already cooked, then all you have to do is throw them in the pan. They're depending on how much oil you have on them when you cook them in the first place. Hopefully not too much. You may just need to add a little bit of oil to the pan when you reheat them, but you put them in the throw salt on the floor. Throw salt on the floor. Put a little olive oil or butter or whatever it is that you're using to cook your eggs. Put a little bit of that in the pan, put the vegetables in there, reheat them, then push them off to the side. And then if you're doing like fried eggs, which is my new kick, which I never thought, I always thought that I would only ever eat scrambled eggs with cheese, but somehow recently I've learned to love fried eggs. So I will just like push the vegetables off to the side so that they're staying hot in the pan, and then crack my eggs right there in the same pan. And then I flip them, and then everything's done, and I have a beautiful, well-rounded breakfast. The other option is to reheat those vegetables in the pan, scramble up your eggs, pour them on top of the vegetables, and then you have like a frittata or a lazy omelet. You know, so you don't have to like fold it up and all that kind of stuff. It all tastes the same, right? You can sprinkle some cheese on it, put the lid on it, let it melt. Oven just went off. That was perfect timing. I did not plan that, though it worked out well. So I'm going to put my veggies in the oven. And of course, there was plenty of room on both of those pans to add more if I wanted to do more. Like I said, I'm saving this zucchini here for a different meal. I will make like zucchini noodles. And then this squash, I don't know what I'll do with it. I probably should have just gone ahead and cut it up and put it in there, but I didn't, so whatever. All right, so let's clean this up. I like to really try to sort of plan out my the order that I do things to make things as efficient as possible. So, so that's why I've got the veggies in there now, so that they're cooking while I'm standing here working on other things. Whereas if I had waited to do the vegetables last, I'd have to sit here and babysit vegetables or remember to get up off the couch and come in here and check on the vegetables before they burn, which I've done before. All right, I'm gonna wipe this down. Okay. I think I'm getting more on the floor than actually in the rag. That's why we have brooms. All right, next up is, I have my list over there, sauteed mushrooms and onions. So this is another one of my favorite things to do for breakfast. Onions. Oh, I put them over here. I like to keep sauteed mushrooms and onions in my fridge all the time because they make really good omelets. And I like to add, like, when we get to the meat for the week, which you've probably already seen before, because I post about it a lot. But just, like, having those mushrooms and onions, add them to the pre-cooked beef that I'm going to show you how to make in the crock pot with some mashed cauliflower is a really delicious, quick and easy meal, and you're, like, literally in and out of the kitchen in 20 minutes. So, again, keeping things as basic as possible. The mushrooms and onions are very, what is going on with this onion? Just very basic, you know, there's not a lot of, they're very versatile, that's the word I'm looking for. Okay, this onion is not, you hate onion skins when they're like stuck to your fingers. Ugh. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. This time I bought pre-cut mushrooms. I usually buy the whole mushrooms, but I was at BJ's the other day and they had these pre-cut and I was like, heck yeah, one less step, down. So, pre-cut. One less thing to do. All right, I'm gonna do one more onion since that one was kind of lame. I just cut off each end, and then I like to cut it down the middle because that typically will make it easier to peel. If you just peel off that whole outer, like it's, you know, you're wasting a layer, but please, it's much easier than peeling off the paper. I'm okay with a little onion waste. All right. So I'm just going to slice this like that. Once this separates, you get these little pieces, right? Again, keeping it really easy, quick, doesn't have to be complicated. About the same size, since this piece is a little bigger, I'm going to just cut it in half. Okay, I'm going to cut these in half too, and just like this. Don't pay attention to my knife skills. You will not have fingers. There we go. And these mushrooms, wash before use. Yeah, that's always a good idea. All right, so I'm just going to put them in colander. This is also my great-grandmother's. Isn't that cool? I love having stuff of hers. All right, I'm not going to cook all of these because it'll take longer than we have today. Not that it takes a long time to cook mushrooms, but you want to be done. You want to be done in about 30 minutes here. So I'm not going to cook all of them right now. so that we don't run out of time. I'm going to dry these off a little bit. They shouldn't be too bad since they're pre-sliced. If they were whole, I would cut them first and then wash them, because when you wash them before you cut them, or if you don't slice them, if you wash them and then don't slice them, like if you're cooking whole mushrooms, the moisture will get trapped down in the, the mushroom parts, whenever the cap of the mushroom. So that's that. I have my mushrooms, have my onions, and I just need a pan. So something that I do to, again, make things like fast or efficient is use the biggest surface area possible. So this is my widest pan, my biggest pan in diameter. If I were to use something smaller, like a regular, where is it? Like just a regular frying pan, I don't have as much surface area, so it's going to take longer for everything to cook. Again, because that evaporation, when everything's piled on top of each other, it takes longer for the moisture to evaporate, which is essentially what we're doing when we're cooking. So more surface area, the better, the faster. I also cook pretty much everything on high. Don't judge me. All right. Pan, onions, mushrooms. I just dump it all in. See, and the cool thing is, so, okay, here's another little tidbit of why I love this method, is that, so now I've got peppers separately, I've got zucchini and squash separately, but I can mix all of, flinging mushroom parts, I can mix all of these together or in different combinations to make different flavor profiles. So, so again, keeping things as basic as possible makes them more versatile. So I'm going to put this on my stove here, turn it on high, because like I said, I cook everything on high. And I'm just going to put in some olive oil. I don't know how much that was. It was probably a couple of tablespoons. Those are my, yeah, up here. Okay. Brett is operating the camera. Okay, so I've got my olive oil, and then I've got more salt here. So this is kosher salt again. I know it seems like I'm using a lot of salt, but when you're using whole, fresh foods, salt, unless you've been directed by your doctor to really limit your salt, salt brings out flavor. It draws out the moisture, which I've mentioned several times now. And when you're not salting prepackaged foods that already have a lot of sodium, you're just salting food because it makes it taste better. The thing about kosher salt is that it's not iodized, so if you typically eat salt for the iodine, which, did you know that that's why it's done that way? It was like back some time, I don't know when, they started iodizing salt to increase iodine levels in us humans. But kosher salt is not iodized, so if you're eating salt for the iodine, you don't want kosher salt. All right, so I'm just going to give this a little stir just to make sure that everything is coated with the olive oil. And like I said, I think there's probably a couple tablespoons in here. I'll probably add more. Mushrooms tend to be really dry. You can see there's like no, can you get down in there? There's no oil in the pan or anything. So there's not a lot of oil in here. If you're really watching your fat intake, then you can add some water I eat a low-carb diet for the most part, a fairly low-carb diet. I kind of go back and forth, but I've definitely a lower carb diet. So fat is a big part of my caloric intake. It's hard to get a lot of calories when you don't eat a lot of sugar or grains. So fat is a good source of calories, and it's good for you, believe it or not. Okay, so I'm going to cover this, which will trap in the moisture, which means that we don't have to use as much oil. But I'm going to keep a close eye on this because I have this set at just below the highest heat on my stove. This stove has a speed heat function, so it gets really hot. But I really am very impatient, so I cook pretty much everything on high, and then I just keep a close eye on it. I don't know if that's good or bad. I like to think that I'm just super efficient. So that's going. I'm gonna start on the meat for the week in the crock pot. I'm gonna do chicken and beef, and then I'm also gonna show you how to do spaghetti squash and sweet potatoes. And how much time do we have? Ooh, we're already at 30 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna go through this super, super fast. We got started a little late. I think next week will be better. Hopefully I'll know how to operate Google Hangouts. All right, so super fast. We've got sweet potatoes. I'll do this one here. Rinse it off really quick. Sometimes I leave them whole, sometimes I cut them. This one has like a super nasty rotten part on it. Oh, that's pretty gross. All right, never mind. We're not going to do that one because that's disgusting. All right. So we'll rinse this off. Where is the crock pot? Oh. All right, I'll go get that. Okay, sweet potato, spaghetti squash. Cut your spaghetti squash. This is my favorite way to cut the spaghetti squash. I cut off the end like this. Then I have a flat surface, and I can. My knife is sharp enough, which is sometimes questionable. Just have to get it going. There we go. And it cuts right down the middle. So scoop that out. Scoop out all that stuff. Let me grab my crock pot really fast, okay? I'll be right back. Okay, crock pot. I'm going to give my mushrooms and onions a little stir real quick. You can see, Brett, if you bring the camera over, you'll see that that moisture is coming out, which is why you don't need a lot of oil. So even though they looked really dry in the beginning, the moisture has come out because of the lid and the salt. And now they're cooking in that little bit of oil and the moisture that's come out of the, onions and mushrooms. Okay, so my kitchen is turned around and I don't know where anything is. All right. So for the sweet potatoes, what I do is I just take them, I wrap them in a piece of tinfoil, I slam them in there like that every single time. Wrap them in tinfoil, and then that's it. Now I'll stick them in here and I'll show you how to do that. But so sweet potatoes go. If you have to go, I just want to get through this real quick. So if you do sweet potatoes, I put them in tin foil, and then the squash I'll scoop out and then just lay in here. And I usually put it on top because it's done before the beef and the chicken, so I can take it out if it's on top, and I don't have to like dig through stuff or take stuff out and move it around. Okay, so have my chicken and my beef. My beef I put in a bowl. I'm going to turn these down now. Yep, they're done. Done. And my veggies are roasting away. Just give them a little stir. This whole process will take less than an hour if you're not running your mouth. So I just dump. This is stew beef. Sometimes I do a small roast, but this is stew beef, so this is what I had on hand. I like the stew beef because it's less fatty typically than a roast, but it's just as versatile. So like a roast will shred really easily. And these will shred too if you want them to, or you can keep them whole. So again, more versatility, right? I can take these, I can throw some of my mushrooms and onions, top it with some mashed cauliflower, and I have a great meal. I can reheat it with some of the peppers and well, any of the vegetables really for like a stir fry. And I can add like some ginger or soy sauce to make it like Asian. It can add Italian seasoning to make it Italian with some Parmesan cheese. It's really, like, once you have these basics, it's just really, really easy to come up with different types of meals that you can use them for. My basic seasoning here is, I do season my meat. I don't just do salt. I do garlic powder and onion powder. And that's it. I'll take a fork and just give it a little stir. This is still a little frozen. You can do frozen or fresh. You just want to adjust your cooking time, and that's going to depend on your crock pot. But you don't have to go through a lot of special stuff here. I'll put a teeny tiny splash of water in the bottom. But as it cooks, it'll create its own juice, and those flavors will fall into the juice and season all of the meat. So we'll put that in the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to move this out of the way. And then the chicken, I do the chicken in foil packets as well. Just like I'm going to stick that there for a second. Don't want to get chicken juice on my hands. Just like the sweet potatoes, I put them in foil. Sometimes what I'll do, so if I know, sorry, that was probably really loud. If I know that I'm going to be making, say, tacos or enchiladas or something Mexican, or I know I'm going to be making something Italian, then sometimes what I'll do is actually pre-season the chicken in the foil. So I'll put the chicken in with the salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and then I might add some cumin and chili powder or whatever spices I know I'm going to want. Sometimes I do that. Typically I just do the base seasoning, which again is the garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. These are chicken tenders this time. Sometimes I do breast. It's just like whatever's on sale or whatever I've got in my house. I have not touched chicken with this hand. And then I'll just throw this little tender on this piece of foil. With the last little bit of salt here. Garlic powder. Because garlic powder and onion powder are pretty much in anything. You know, like they'll go Asian, Italian, Indian, Mexican, whatever. They're just basic spices. So if my chicken is pre-seasoned that way, I can add additional spices when I reheat it, or I can do it just like this. I love to just add a little bit of mayonnaise to make chicken salad, put it on some apples. Oh my god, so good. And that's it. Onion powder. These will go in the crock pot. I like to make sure that when I fold up the foil, that it's pinched at the top. And so even on the sides, it's sort of rounded up like this. If you don't do it this way, and you put like water in the bottom of the crock pot, which I do to keep the chicken moist, the water will seep in and it'll get kind of, it just more boils the chicken rather than steams it, or it just gets kind of, I don't know, slimy or something. It's really not the end of the world, but so anyway, I just stick those right in there, right in, can you see that? So they're just kind of tucked down in there, and then I'll take a cup of water. First I'll throw things around, then I'll just take a little bit of water, put it in the bottom, and that's more to keep the pot from burning than to actually cook the foods, because they're going to have plenty of moisture. Sweet potatoes then can go here like this. You can just shove them in there. And then your spaghetti squash, what did I do with this? That was beef. So let's get a fresh fork. Spaghetti squash. Just pull out all of the seeds. And I just put it in just like this. I don't wrap this in foil or anything. I just put it in like this. Just make sure you get all the seeds out. I put a little bit of olive oil on it. You can put, if you don't have a lot of room there, put a little layer of foil if you don't want it touching. It doesn't bother me to touch it because it's going to get cooked anyway, and I'm not going to be like looking the thing. So a little bit of oil, like just a teeny tiny little bit, just to keep it from drying out. Rub it around, and that's it. So you can see there's still more room here. I could add more. I could add more sweet potatoes in here. I could add, if I had room, I could shove that in there like that. And then I just put the lid on it and let it cook. And I check it, I'll check it after a couple of hours. I usually do this on like a Sunday. So I'll check it after a couple of hours, pull the spaghetti squash out, because that's going to be the first to get done. Typically, depending on the size of your sweet potatoes, they're going to get done pretty fast too. And your chicken's probably going to be done faster than your beef. I have left it all day. I don't mind mushy spaghetti squash, so it's fine with me. But if you are particular about your spaghetti squash, then I recommend keeping an eye on it. And that's it. I think we're pretty close to 30 minutes here. I know that our veggies are still cooking in here, but they are very close to being done. Show you what they look like right now. So I just keep them in there just a little while longer, just till they get a little brown. Remember that they don't have to be completely like perfect, because you're going to reheat these when you eat them, unless you like cold squash and zucchini, which that's cool too, like a squash and zucchini salad. But we've got our mushrooms and onions, we've got our squash, zucchini, peppers, spaghetti squash, sweet potatoes, chicken, and beef. Depending on the size of your family, of course, this may not feed you for a whole week, but it's great for lunches if you're just if you're single or if you're just a couple. Another this burner's still on. You can get several meals out of this. So I hope that helps. The next videos or chats or live sessions, I don't really know what to call these episodes, they're going to go through how to use all of these foods in your meal planning and you know, your healthy way of eating. So I hope you had a fun time watching me. Does anybody have any questions? You can type right now. I'm watching. No questions?
I don't know how to type a question.
Oh, I heard a voice. I guess someone can actually talk. I don't know who it was though. Yes, no? All right. I'm gonna assume we're over and out. So thanks for watching. See you next week. ImperfectLife.net. Links. Bye. Oh, wait, hold on, I see a question. Oh, how do I get it? How long did you roast the peppers? Till they're done, Tanika. I don't know. They've been in there for like, what, maybe 40 minutes? I don't know when we started exactly because we got started late, but probably 40 minutes at 400 degrees is going to be good. Because again, you're going to, you know, reheat them. If you're planning to reheat them in a pan, then you don't want them to get too overcooked because then you'll just have pepper mush. I think there might be another question here, but I can't figure out how to get to it. Oh wait, here we go. Oh no, okay. Oh, it was just another question about the how long do you roast the peppers and zucchini. So that's the answer. 30 to 40 minutes until they're done. You know, they're like they're soft, right? They're soft, and you can see that there's still quite a bit of moisture in there. So the longer you cook, the more the moisture is going to come out. If you like them brown, then cook them longer. But they'll also brown when you put them in the pan to reheat them. So it's sort of up to you and take some, I guess, trial and error. But that would be my recommendation is 30 to 40 minutes. Is that it? Good? Okay, so beef, chicken, spaghetti squash, sweet potatoes, mushrooms, onions, peppers, squash and zucchini, all pretty much prepared in less than an hour. So a lot of quick and easy meals you can make from this. All right, guys, I think we're good. All right, signing off. See you on Facebook and other places. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.